The Dragon King's panic. The Albino Dragon King woke up to silence. That alone was wrong. His mountain was never silent. There was always warmth, soft breathing, small cries, or the gentle hum of dragon life. But now there was nothing. The air felt empty, cold. The Dragon King slowly opened his silver eyes. His heart stopped. The nest was empty. Two small spaces lay before him, still warm, still smelling of milk and magic. But the babies were gone. His albino dragon twins, rare beyond legend, were missing. For one long moment, the Dragon King did not move. Then the mountain shook. A deep roar tore through the skies, loud enough to crack stone and wake distant worlds. The roar was not anger. It was fear. The Dragon King stood, his massive white scales glowing faintly in the dark cave. He lowered his head and inhaled deeply. Dragons remembered everything through scent, every step, every breath. But the cave smelled wrong. There was no blood, no sign of struggle, no enemy scent, only confusion. He pushed out of the cave, wings spreading wide. Snow and ash flew into the air as he leapt into the sky. His wings beat once, twice, and the clouds broke beneath him. He searched the nearby cliffs first. Nothing. He flew over burning valleys, frozen peaks, and ancient ruins where old dragons once slept. His eyes scanned every shadow. His senses reached far, touching the land like invisible claws. Still nothing. Other dragons felt his panic. They rose from their lairs, circling the skies. A missing albino dragon child was not just a family matter. It was a galactic disaster waiting to happen. If the babies were harmed, the Dragon King would burn worlds. The Dragon King flew faster. He checked the deep caves where smugglers once hid. Empty. He flew over trade routes. No sign. He followed the rivers of heat beneath the planet's crust. Nothing. Minutes felt like years. Then he stopped midair. A scent touched his senses. It was faint, strange. Not dragon, not beast, not machine. It was human. The Dragon King froze. Humans were weak creatures. Small, soft. They lived short lives and avoided dragon space at all costs. No human would dare come near an albino dragon nest. And yet, the scent was real. It clung to the air like a soft echo. The Dragon King followed it. The scent led away from the mountains, toward a green area far below. A place with trees, water, and fragile life. A place dragons rarely visited. As he flew lower, the land changed. Fire turned to grass. Stone turned to soil. The air grew lighter, warmer, and filled with unfamiliar sounds. Birds. The Dragon King landed at the edge of a forest. His massive claws sank into the earth. Trees bent under his presence. Animals fled in silent terror. He lowered his head and breathed again. The human scent was stronger here, but something else was mixed with it. Comfort. The babies were not afraid. That made no sense. Albino dragon babies were born with power. They feared nothing, but they trusted no one. Even adult dragons approached them carefully. Yet now, the scent told a different story. The babies were calm, safe. The Dragon King moved slowly through the forest, each step controlled. He did not want to scare his children if they were near. His massive body pushed through trees with care he had never shown before. Then he heard it, a sound so small, so fragile, that he almost missed it. Laughter. Not dragon laughter. Human laughter. The Dragon King stopped. His heart pounded harder than any battle drum. His mind filled with images of danger, traps, and foolish courage. Humans were unpredictable. Weak creatures often did foolish things. He followed the sound. Through the trees, he saw a small clearing. And in the center of it, his world shattered. A small human girl lay on the grass. She could not have been more than a few years old. Her clothes were simple. Her hands were dirty from the earth. Her eyes were closed. And on her chest, the albino dragon babies. They were curled against her, their tiny wings folded, their glowing white scales softly shining in the sunlight. One of them let out a tiny happy sound. The other stretched and pressed closer to the girl's neck. They were napping, peacefully. The Dragon King could not breathe. No chains, no cages, No fear, only trust. The girl smiled in her sleep, one hand resting gently on a dragon's head, as if this were the most normal thing in the universe. The Dragon King lowered his head slowly. For the first time in his long, endless life, he did not know what to do. The child who feared nothing. The Dragon King did not move. He stood at the edge of the clearing like a living mountain, his shadow stretching over the grass, the trees, and the small human girl. One breath from him could turn the forest to ash. Yet he stayed still, because the babies were smiling. The albino dragon twins slept deeply on the girl's chest, their small bodies rising and falling with her breath. Tiny sparks of white light drifted from their scales, not wild or dangerous, soft, calm, controlled. That alone shook the Dragon King more than any battle ever had. Albino dragons did not sleep like this. They were born alert, aware, ready, and yet here they were, helplessly trusting a human child. The Dragon King lowered his head just a little. A twig snapped. The girl's eyes opened. She did not scream. She did not run. She blinked once, slowly, as if waking from a warm dream. Her eyes met the Dragon King's silver gaze, eyes that had burned armies and shattered stars. She yawned. "Shoo," she whispered. The Dragon King froze. The girl gently moved her hand, resting it over the head of one baby. The small dragon made a tiny sound and pressed closer to her. "You'll wake them," the girl said softly, not looking at the Dragon King, but at the dragons. The forest held its breath. No human had ever spoken to a Dragon King like that. Not kings, not generals, not empires. The Dragon King felt something twist inside his chest. Not anger, confusion. The girl finally looked up at him again. Her eyes were not brave, not foolish. They were kind. "You're very big," she said. That was all. No fear, no begging, no threat. The Dragon King slowly lowered himself to the ground, careful, controlled. The earth shook, but the girl did not flinch. "How do you know they are safe?" the Dragon King asked. His voice was deep, heavy, and old. It rolled through the forest like distant thunder. The girl thought for a moment. "They were crying," she said. "So they were not safe." The Dragon King's claws dug into the soil. "They are dragons," he said. "They are never helpless." The girl shook her head. "They are babies." The words hit harder than any weapon. The Dragon King looked closer now. The babies were smaller than he remembered. Their wings were not fully formed. Their scales, though powerful, were thin. Their magic was raw, untrained. They had wandered. They had been cold. Alone. The girl spoke again. "I found them by the river," she said. They were trying to breathe fire, but only smoke came out. One of the babies sneezed softly, a tiny puff of white smoke escaping its nose. The girl giggled. The Dragon King felt shame burn through him. "You should have run," he said quietly. The girl frowned. "Why?" "Because dragons kill," he answered. "Humans die." She tilted her head. "They didn't bite me." The Dragon King had no answer. The girl carefully sat up, holding both babies close. The dragon stirred but did not wake. One curled its tail around her finger. "You're their dad, right?" she asked. The Dragon King nodded once. "They missed you," she said. His heart cracked. The air changed. Far away, other dragons felt it. Something was wrong. Something ancient was bending. The girl looked past the Dragon King, toward the sky. "They came from up there," she said. "It's very high." "Yes," the Dragon King replied. She smiled proudly. "I kept them warm." The Dragon King closed his eyes. In all the long history of the galaxy, wars have been fought over dragon eggs. Entire species had vanished trying to control dragon power. And here stood a human child who had done what none of them could. She had simply cared. Suddenly, the babies woke. Both lifted their heads and chirped happily. They looked at the Dragon King, and then back at the girl. They did not move. The Dragon King's breath caught. "Come," he said softly. The babies ignored him. They pressed closer to the girl instead. A sharp pain went through the Dragon King's chest. The girl hesitated. "They like me," she said, unsure. "I can come with them if you want." The Dragon King's eyes widened. Take a human into the dragon realm? Impossible. Forbidden. Dangerous. And yet, the babies purred. The forest wind whispered. The future shifted. The Dragon King realized something terrifying. This was no accident. The galaxy had just changed course. Not because of a war, not because of power, but because of a small human girl who refused to be afraid. When the sky chose sides, the first warning did not come from the Dragon King. It came from the sky. Across the world, ancient alarms awakened. Orbital stations turned red. Long silent defense systems came online. Every major species felt it at the same time. An albino Dragon King was grounded. That meant only one thing. Something had gone wrong. In the forest clearing, the air suddenly vibrated. The Dragon King lifted his head. His eyes burned brighter as he sensed movement far above the clouds. They were coming. Fast. The girl felt it too. The ground trembled lightly under her feet. Is something bad happening? She asked, holding the dragon babies closer. The Dragon King did not answer. High in the sky, silver shapes broke through the clouds. Dragons. Dozens of them. Warriors. Elders. Flame bearers. Their wings darkened the sun. Then came the machines. Human and alien warships dropped out of light speed at the edge of the atmosphere. Weapons charged. Sensors locked onto the forest. No one spoke. No one dared. Because in the center of it all stood one small human child, holding the most valuable beings in the galaxy. The Dragon King stepped forward. His body became a wall between the girl and the sky. That single move sent shockwaves through every command center watching. He was protecting her. A dragon elder landed first, her scales marked with age and battle scars. Where are the children? She demanded. The Dragon King did not move aside. They are safe, he said. Then show them, the elder replied. The Dragon King's voice dropped. No. The forest went silent. The elder's eyes narrowed. No being hides albino heirs, she said. Not even you. The girl felt the tension rise like heat before fire. She looked up at the massive, white dragon in front of her. You're scared, she said softly. The Dragon King did not deny it. The dragon babies stirred. One let out a small, unhappy sound, sensing the danger. Instantly, the girl hugged them tighter. It's okay, she whispered. I won't let them get hurt. The words echoed across open channels. Every general, every admiral, every emperor heard them. A human child promising safety to dragons. A human commander finally spoke through a loudspeaker. Step away from the targets, he ordered. Those creatures are weapons of mass destruction. The Dragon King's eyes flashed. They are infants. They will become gods of war, the commander replied. Hand them over. The girl stepped forward. The Dragon King turned sharply. Do not, he warned. But she did. She stood in full view of the sky, small arms wrapped around glowing white scales. They don't belong to you, she said, her voice shaking but strong. They don't belong to anyone. The sky shook with murmurs. The dragon elder stared. You would claim them? She asked. The girl shook her head. No, she said. I'm just keeping them safe. One of the warships powered its weapons. The dragon babies cried out. That was the mistake. The Dragon King roared. Not in rage. In command. The sound ripped through the sky, disabling sensors, shattering courage, bending will. Every dragon in the air bowed. Every warship lost lock. The Dragon King spread his wings wide. Anyone who takes one more step toward this child, he said, will answer to me. The girl felt warm light surround her. The dragon babies glowed brighter, feeding on her calm. The dragon elder lowered her head. We have never seen this bond, she admitted. Then learn, the Dragon King replied. Slowly, ships powered down. Dragons pulled back. The sky cleared. But the danger did not leave. Because everyone now understood one terrifying truth. If a human child could stand between dragons and war, what else could humans do? The girl looked up at the Dragon King. Did I do good? She asked. The Dragon King lowered his massive head until his eye met hers. You changed the fate of the galaxy, he said. And far away, in dark places, enemies began to plan. The law that broke the galaxy. Peace did not last. It never did. Across the galaxy, leaders screamed at their councils. Screens shattered. Old treaties were burned. One truth echoed everywhere. A human child now stood under dragon protection. That was unacceptable. In the dragon realm, the sky was white with clouds and fire. The Dragon King flew at the front, the girl riding safely between the plates of his neck, wrapped in warm light. The albino dragon babies slept beside her, calm and unafraid. Every dragon watched. No human had ever crossed into the dragon realm alive. Until now, the Dragon King landed before the high spire, the place where dragon law was written in flame and stone. Elders circled above, their eyes sharp with doubt and fear. The girl stepped down slowly. The ground did not reject her. That alone shocked the elders. The Dragon King turned to them. "This child will remain," he said. A roar of anger answered him. "She is a weakness," one elder shouted. "She is a threat," said another. "She will be used against us," warned a third. The Dragon King's voice cut through them all. "She is the reason my children live." Silence followed. The girl looked around, suddenly aware of how small she was. But she stood straight. "They didn't want to be alone," she said softly. "Neither did I." The words echoed in the vast stone chamber. Then the sky darkened. Without warning, a fleet of warships breached Dragon Realm space. Shields flared. Weapons charged. A betrayal. One empire had decided not to fear dragons, but to control them. Hand over the human, a voice demanded through the air. "And the babies, or we burn this realm." The dragons roared in fury. The Dragon King did not roar. He lifted his head and spoke one sentence that would change history. "From this moment," he said, "any harm done to a human is harm done to a dragon." The galaxy froze. A new law. Unthinkable. Impossible. The warships fired. Before the blast could land, the dragon babies woke. White light exploded outward. Not fire. Not death. A shield. The girl stood in the center of it, her hands glowing as if the light answered her heart. The attacks vanished. The fleet panicked. Dragons surged forward, tearing through metal and fear alike. The battle was fast. One-sided. Absolute. When it ended, burning wreckage fell like rain. The elders stared at the girl. She was shaking. "I didn't want anyone to get hurt," she whispered. The Dragon King lowered his head. "And yet," he said quietly, "you stopped a war." The elders bowed, reluctantly, then fully. The law was sealed in flame and memory. Humans were no longer small. They were protected. Across the galaxy, whispers spread like wildfire. Do not touch a human. Do not threaten a child. Do not challenge a dragon's bond. Because one girl had done what no army could. She made dragons choose mercy. But in the shadows, far from dragon fire, something ancient watched. And it smiled. The hunt for the human. The galaxy learned the new rule fast. Publicly, every empire bowed. Treaties were signed. Speeches were made. Leaders promised peace and respect for humans. Privately, they panicked because dragons were unstoppable, but humans were everywhere. And now humans had dragon protection. In secret halls and dark star systems, a single question was asked again and again. What if we removed the human at the center of it all? The girl became a name no one spoke aloud. But everyone hunted. In the dragon realm, life seemed calm. The girl lived near the crystal cliffs, where young dragons learned to fly. The albino twins followed her everywhere, clumsy and curious, burning small holes in the air when they laughed. The Dragon King watched constantly. He felt it before anyone else. The bond was being tested. One night, the stars blinked out. That was impossible. The Dragon King rose instantly. The realm's alarms never sounded. That was worse. Shadows moved where light should exist. Not ships, not beasts, something older. The girl was asleep when the first whisper reached her mind. "Come." She sat up. The dragon babies hissed, wings flaring. A shape formed in the darkness, thin, tall, and wrong. Its voice did not come from its mouth. "Your dragons are weapons," it said, "and weapons must be owned." The girl stepped back. "No," she said, "they're family." The shadow smiled. It reached for her. The dragon baby screamed. The Dragon King felt the pain hit his chest like a spear. He roared and tore through the sky, but the shadows bent space itself. Too slow. The girl grabbed the twins and ran. She did not scream. She did not cry. She remembered one thing the Dragon King had taught her. Run toward the light. She burst into the open cliffs just as the shadow lunged. White fire erupted, not from the dragons, from her. The shadow shrieked and vanished. Dragons filled the sky seconds later. The Dragon King landed hard, crushing stone. He saw the girl standing, shaking but alive. The twins clung to her, eyes glowing. "What was that?" she asked. The Dragon King's voice was cold. "An enemy that hunts bonds," he said, "and now it knows your strength." Across the galaxy, ancient watchers awoke. The hunt had failed, but the war had just begun. The truth humans never knew. The shadow did not die. It learned. Across the galaxy, systems went dark one by one. Not destroyed, silenced. Ships vanished without distress calls. Entire fleets returned empty. No battle marks. No wreckage. No bodies. Only fear. The Dragon King called the elders. "This enemy does not fight dragons," he said. "It hunts what connects us." The girl stood beside him, the albino twins at her feet. They were no longer small. Their wings were stronger now, their eyes brighter. But they stayed close to her always. The elders argued. "Humans are fragile," one said. "They will break," another warned. "Then we lose everything," a third whispered. The girl listened. Then she spoke. "Maybe you don't need to protect humans," she said quietly. "Maybe you need to trust us." Silence fell. No human had ever spoken in the Dragon Council. The Dragon King looked at her. "What do you mean?" he asked. She took a breath. "When the shadow came," she said, "I felt something wake up. Not power, not anger." She touched her chest. Connection. The elders leaned in. "The shadow tried to take the dragons," she continued. "But it couldn't, because they weren't alone." The Dragon King understood first. Humans did not project power. They amplified it. The enemy struck again before plans could form. This time it came openly. A human colony vanished. No dragons were harmed. That was the message. Panic spread like fire. "Separate them," the elders demanded. "Hide the humans," others said. The Dragon King shook his head. "That is what the enemy wants." The girl stepped forward. "Let me go," she said. Every dragon roared in protest. "I'm not leaving," she added. "I'm walking into the dark." The twins growled softly, flames flickering. The Dragon King knelt before her. "You will not walk alone." For the first time in history, dragons followed a human into unknown space. When the shadow attacked again, it was ready. It surrounded them, feeding on fear. But fear did not come. Humans stood between dragons, hands linked, refusing to break. The shadows screamed. They burned, not from fire, from unity. The truth spread across the stars. Humans were not weak. They were anchors. They made power stable, focused, unbreakable. The enemy retreated, wounded, but left a promise behind. Next time it would not miss. The girl looked up at the Dragon King. "Now they know," she said. "Yes," he replied. "And now," she asked, "what do we do?" The Dragon King's eyes burned bright. "Now," he said, "we teach the galaxy what it means to stand together." The day the galaxy learned fear. The galaxy did not sleep. Every star system watched the same point in space, holding its breath. Ancient sensors screamed warnings. Old weapons powered up for the first time in centuries. The shadow had returned. But this time it did not hide. It rose from the dark between stars like a wound in reality itself. Vast, endless, hungry. Entire fleets vanished as it passed, erased without sound. This was not an enemy. It was a reset. The Dragon King stood at the front of the united forces, his wings spread wide. Around him, dragons of every color formed a living wall of flame and light. Behind them stood humans, unarmed, unarmored, unafraid. At the center stood the girl. She was no longer small, not in presence. The albino dragon twins hovered at her sides, fully grown now, their white scales blazing like newborn stars. They did not roar. They waited. The shadow spoke inside every mind at once. "You're temporary." Humans reached for one another's hands. Dragons felt it instantly. Their fire sharpened. Their fear vanished. The girl stepped forward. "You can take worlds," she said, "but you can't take what we choose to share." The shadow struck. Darkness crashed into light. Stars flickered. Space twisted. The dragons unleashed fire, but it was not enough. Then the humans moved. Not forward. Together. Every bond, every promise, every act of kindness humans had ever shared surged outward. The dragons felt their power multiply, stabilize, focus. The albino twins screamed, not in pain, but in command. White fire erupted, cutting through the shadow like dawn. The enemy recoiled. For the first time, it felt fear. The Dragon King roared. The sound carried a new truth across the galaxy. Power alone is fragile. Connection is eternal. The shadow tried to flee. The girl raised her hand. Go, she said, and remember us. The shadow collapsed into nothing. Silence followed. Then cheers. Tears. Awe. The Dragon King lowered his massive head to the girl. From this day, he said, humans will not be protected. The galaxy leaned in. They will be followed. Years later, children would hear the story and whisper the final truth. The galaxy does not fear dragons. It fears the ones dragons trust. And somewhere among the stars, a human girl laughed as two white dragons raced through the sky beside her.